I'm back at the Maple Springs to San Diego Peak Trail, this time with the 2020 Africa Twin, the base version, not the Adventure Sport version. This won't be a full trail video. You can search for Maple Springs on my channel if you want that. I'll go over my first impressions riding the Africa Twin off-road, compared to my recent experiences on the 1250 GS, the KTM 790 Adventure R, and my own 1300 GS. Apologies for the camera angle. I'm using a chest mount while I wait for another chin mount to arrive after I broke my last one. The biggest impression the bike left with me was that the traction control is frankly unusable off-road, even at the lowest setting. Let me take you through my experience. The following clip is my first attempt at going through the whoops at the midway point of the trail, something I've done several times on past bikes and never had any real difficulty. In the clip you'll hear me mention the standing position on the bike. More on this later. Here we go.
Okay, I'm gonna give these a try. Despite my unease about the standing position. What the hell happened there? Was that traction control? I feel like a traction control kicked in or something.
As you may have noticed, I was on traction control setting 3 of 6. This is my bad, and I should have been at the lowest setting. However, I should note that at this point, even if I had turned it to the lowest setting, I would still not have been able to get rid of the traction control entirely. Turning it completely off requires complicated steps. See the link in the description. For now, I turned it down to 1, which is the lowest possible setting without going through special steps. Initially, I thought it seemed okay, but I was still skittish and didn't want to try the whoops again.
Okay, I think traction control is properly not intervening like a motherfucker right now. Having said that, I don't feel like going there again, even though it's probably gonna work out better.
I later second-guessed myself. Was it really traction control, or was it just me being a poor rider?
I could also be wrong and it wasn't traction control, but it really felt like power just gave out. And I didn't have the muscle memory to like overcome that or overcompensate on it. I never had that happen with the 1300, even with traction control off. Oh, sorry, even with traction control on, when it's an off-road mode. So I'm not used to the feeling, but I get, why people don't like traction control.
Later on, I decided to validate that what I thought was minimal traction control really was, just in case I was misinterpreting the instrument panel. At this point, I became much more certain that it was indeed a traction control that had kicked in.
I don't know, I'm not buying the traction control situation. Let me see if I turn it on to max. Okay, yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, no thank you. So that is what I think it was on. Works okay on this, but like those whoops or whatever were basically medium deep sand. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I trust that traction control is at least almost off, if not entirely off. Although I don't know what's going to happen in the sand if I go again. But I also I'm now even more sure that what happened was traction control. Just the way it felt when I turned it up and just felt how it was cutting power. I'm super convinced now that it was traction control.
Later on, as I was leaving San Diego Peak, I decided to go up the whoops there at the top. Again, something I'd done several times before without difficulty. This time the traction control was still on the lowest setting. Whew. Definitely the sketchiest I've ever done. At this point, I thought that traction control wasn't intervening until after I got further up, and I chalked the difficulty up to the uncomfortable standing position and presumed rider error on my part. Then I did feel it obviously kick in again.
I fucking feel like that's the traction control again. It's really weird. Not during the main, when I was going up, but just then as I was commenting. I don't know, maybe I just suck. Maybe I am just scared off because of what happened on the moguls, and so I'm just causing the problem by being skittish. I don't know.
Well, later that evening I figured out exactly how to actually turn off traction control completely. Again, link in the description for the unnecessarily complicated process required to do so. The next day, at the same location, it was like night and day, and it felt just as easy as it had been on past bikes.
Okay, I'm more and more convinced that even last time I went up here and I thought it was okay and traction control wasn't hitting it, I'm now convinced that it was. Like, that was so much easier than last time.
I'll play the first attempt and the second attempt again, back to back. This time listen to the difference in engine sound. So in short, even at the lowest possible traction control, it intervenes way too much for my taste, and I would consider it effectively useless off-road unless you're just going down very basic dirt roads. For completeness, here is my second day attempt at the whoops at the midpoint of the trail where I previously dropped the bike.
There we go. No traction control fucking with me. That was so much better.
The second thing I don't like about the bike is that there is too little space behind the right foot peg. There isn't enough room to lower my heels if I'm on the balls of my feet. This isn't a showstopper, and it's common practice to angle your foot outward a little, but I would prefer if there was a little bit more space before your foot hits the exhaust cover. The third thing that I don't like is that while the engine overall feels really smooth, and I can see why folks like it, it does feel a bit off and on at the very bottom, not really admitting you that ability to have precise control at very low power.
Honestly, I think I feel like I've seen reviewers talk about the the throttle being a little bit off and on. Like fairly sudden, like it's either on or off, so you don't have a lot of precision when you're just coming onto the throttle, and I actually feel like I'm noticing that. Feels a little bit jerky.
The final strong experience I had was the ergonomics in the standing position, which were very poor for me. I want to stress that this is an unmodified bike, and these can probably be fixed by lowering the foot pegs, adjusting the handlebars, and so on, so it is unlikely to be insurmountable. But from what I can tell, the setup is pretty stock, and for me, 6 feet tall, 32-inch inseam, the standing position is not great. If I'm in a balanced position, the handlebars are way too far back, and I feel like I'm going to go over the handlebars at the smallest unexpected movement. The handlebars are also rotated to horizontal, which is obviously something you can just adjust, so that's not a big deal. I just need to adjust it, or I would if I owned the bike. But in any case, if I'm far enough back for the handle position to be reasonably comfortable, I'm not balanced, and instead I'm pulling on the bars. So I'm not able to have that neutral, balanced position while standing. I settled on this compromise where I was leaning backwards too much intentionally, but compensating by squeezing the back of the seat with my legs to avoid exerting my arms. That works, but it's not a good position to ride in, and I did have the front wheel slide out on me a little bit in a turn, which I think wouldn't have happened if I had put my weight more appropriately balanced. I want to stress again that this is most likely a fixable problem, but I will still include my in-the-moment reaction to it.
yeah, it's really hard to be comfortable for me. Wow, this is actually worse than I thought. It's, yeah, not good at all actually for me. Yeah, it's like normally like in turns and things, whenever it gets even a little bit tricky, right? My usual tendency is to stand up for better control, but I almost find myself wanting to keep sitting because the standing position just isn't good for me. I know I keep complaining about that, but that's honestly just the big difference for me now compared to 1300, compared to the 1250, compared to the 790. I mean, the 790 was a little bit short, but that was but that's also very easily adjustable because the handlebars were in the sort of shortest position, so to speak, on that bike. So I'm pretty sure that would have been totally fine if I just adjusted it. But it wasn't as bad as this. At least it doesn't feel, or rather it feels like this is much more so. I don't know what the measurements are, but whatever combination of concerns just feels a lot more prominent here.
Overall, if I owned the bike and modified it appropriately, I think I'd enjoy riding it off-road a lot. Once you know to turn off traction control completely and how to do it, and the ergonomics are fixed, I think it would be quite enjoyable. Do keep in mind that the traction control has to be turned off again and again after every toggle of the ignition. Again, see the video linked in the description. Finally, please note that this is not meant to be an overall or balanced bike review, so I focus a lot on negative aspects of the experience, but I don't want you to take it as an overall negative view of the bike. It's a very popular and successful bike, and I don't doubt that I'd enjoy it, as I said. These are just some of the things to be aware of. Finally, in case you want to watch me on the struggle bus for a while, here's the complete clip of my initial bike drop, including me dropping it another couple of times as I backed the bike down in reverse through the whoops. Enjoy.
Okay, I'm gonna give these a try. Despite my unease about the standing position. What the hell happened there? Was that traction control? I feel like a traction control kicked in or something. Well, first time dropping a bike here, and this is supposed to be top heavy, so okay, not too bad, although not a great position. Whew. For the kickstand, carefully balancing so I don't have to pick it up again. All right, I'm gonna walk it. Oh, does it have to get toggled? Yes. I'm gonna walk it out. Kind of ironic that I'm having trouble with this as opposed to the 1300, especially how everybody loves to complain about big bikes off-road. Okay, Okay, let me see if I can do this carefully. Whew. Yeah, there's a stone there. Let me see if I go back a little bit. No. I might back it up. Okay. Super annoying. Whew. I'm definitely not going up there again without first having gotten traction control turned off. Whew. Steer to the left, please. Okay. A little bit more. I'm good, thank you. So I could go on, I can go back up here, but until I have traction control figured and I know what the bike is going to do, I'm not going to attempt it. Whoa. Whew. Okay. I think I'm just going to turn around at this point. Yeah, the top heaviness that people talk about is real. Whew. Okay. Okay, so I think that means, wait. Okay. Sorry. Oh, and again, need to toggle it. Okay. Okay. All right, we're good finally. Another water break.